David, wake up.
First, I want to say about getting the most money back as possible. Number one, for business owners, they need to understand when you're getting a refund, number one, you've
Welcome back, everybody. I'm with Lorra Brown, tax expert, and she's kind of going through some tax stuff, some tax tips, and especially more so for the entrepreneurs, CEOs, and how they can get ahead in that area. So, how you doing, Miss?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you today. Uh, yeah, so my first question is, I know you have your own business, LBE Consulting. What exactly do you guys provide for entrepreneurs?
LBE Consulting provides bookkeeping tax services, and we also do business consultant advisory services. And then we do some fractional CFO services for those larger companies. So yes, it's all about working with those businesses to help them really thrive and grow their companies either to six figures or multimillionaires.
And my next question is, what type of mindset do you need to be an entrepreneur? Because it could be up and down as an entrepreneur, fear kicks in, doubt kicks in, tough months kick in, but how do you keep your emotions together?
I think as an entrepreneur, you really have to have a strong mindset. Even when things just look rough, you have to believe that it will turn around for you. And you, most of all, you have to be consistent. I find a lot of people are not consistent. Just like you mentioned, in the down times, when times get tough, that's when they seem to get in a place of withdrawal from their business because they're so frustrated. But then also, when things are going great, don't get comfortable because what worked last year won't work this year or the next year because things are always evolving.
Cool, cool. My next question is, what are your best tips in getting the best tax return as a business? Trying to get back the most money possible during tax time. So, what are your tips?
Okay, first, I want to say about getting the most money back as possible. Number one, for business owners, they need to understand when you're getting a refund, number one, you've overpaid in your taxes, or number two, your business has a loss. And so, if that business has a significant loss, that's when we will see people getting refunds. But far as it remains, for tax time for entrepreneurs and business owners, I always tell you, number one is going to be your financial records. You need to have good financial records and they should be organized. If they're not, that is going to affect your tax return because you're going to miss out on deductions.
What is records? What do you mean by records? What type of
So when
records?
I say records, okay, number one, you should have a bank account that is opened in your business name, not your personal. So you need to have your bank statements. You should be using some type of accounting software such as QuickBooks or something like that where we can get the P&L and balance sheet. So the P&L of the profit and loss is going to show us all the expenses and income coming through a business. Then the balance sheet is going to show us any liabilities or anything that you have, and it's going to show us the owner's, it's going to also show us, the net of, like if you have a credit card, it'll show the outstanding balance. So those type of things is what I mean when I say financial records. So you should also keep your receipts. If you feel like you're not big enough yet to have QuickBooks, I also encourage them to keep spreadsheets and also have your receipts. Take them and put them in an envelope by the month of the bank statement and staple it because that's easier for you to reference and for your tax person to reference what happened. A lot of people will write down their expenses, but sometimes they are miscategorized. And so that does play a big part. And then it also plays a big part of, how we take depreciation and all of those type of things for vehicles, for repairs, things like equipment, things like that.
Okay. let's say somebody's in business for the first time or the first year and they don't know that type of information and they don't keep their financial records. How do you go about that?
So then we have to do a process that's called reconstruction. And reconstruction is a long process because we're trying to figure out what did you do for the whole year. And a lot of business owners cannot remember last year all of the things that we're doing. So it tends to be a lot of questions. And then there's times where we're even going back and trying to obtain receipts from certain companies because we know like people like Office Depot, Staples, if you have an account with them, we can retrieve those things. So if you're taking a home office deduction, such as your water bill, your mortgage or your apartment, things like that, we're trying to recapture those unless you're going to take that standard amount that the IRS gives you. And for some people, it's better for them to have the actual information.
Okay, okay, cool. It is also, is this smart to increase your expenses, buy as much stuff as you can so it can like level out what you made that year? Is that a
Well,
good?
it just depends. And a lot of things that I tell people is you have to do tax planning so that we can see what's going on. The next thing I tell them, the tax planning is beneficial because what I've seen people do is want to write off everything that is possible, but now they're looking to get a house. Well, the mortgage lender is not going to give you a house if you're self-employed and you're saying you made no money, but you've been getting refunds. So also, if you're trying to get loans at banks, the bank doesn't want to give you any money because you don't look profitable in your business. So this is why tax planning is very important so that we can tell you what you should do. So for instance, there are some things that, let's just say I have a printing press because I'm doing t-shirts. You buy the printing press on December the 1st. Well, guess what? It needs to be put into action by December the 31st. So there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts that go.
Okay, all right, cool. What ways can somebody get capital as an entrepreneur without having any money?
I think the first thing that you can do without having any money is see what resources are out there that are free. It's going to be limited, but there are some things out there that you can look at that can help you. For instance, if you are running a PR firm, you may be able to get use Canva, you can use social media, you can use the internet. There you're trying to make relationships with people. So that in itself is always free. There's free networking events, things like that where you can build those type of relationships.
Okay. I know you work with a lot of big companies and so forth. So what is your negotiation tactics in getting those partnerships and getting the deals that you want at the table?
So my number one thing to get those partnerships is always showing them what I'm capable of doing. And so even though I, make sure that what they're needing is something that I can do, I give examples to them of things that I've done. So one of the things is I do SAP implementations. So I'm able to show them, hey, I've done a SAP implementation simultaneously. So that's a very tactic system. And what that means is they were already on SAP, acquired another system. And so we had to bring in SAP, but we had to derivate of what company A and B was at the time. So that until they were able to finish the agreement, then they can merge everything together. So it's always showing your skill set and showing them what you've done, and then being confident and not cocky, but showing your worth. And I think that comes with experience.
Okay. Like what if you're, so for example, you were starting out, well, and your first deal and people didn't really know you, how were you able to get in contact with the companies, get in contact with the people that you need to talk to? Because if you're not well known, sometimes they might not even pick. phone.
Yes, and that was my first experience. But one of the things is that I went out there looking for, companies because sometimes they'll list or sometimes you'll have friends and they'll say, hey, they're looking for someone to help them in the accounting to implement a system. And you can go by that and you can contact it's normally going to be purchasing or someone that has it out there. And so what you can say is, can you share with me what you're looking for and send over the RFP? But then you can also do that on other contracts where you're looking up different contracts. Like, for instance, the tollway. Here, they list all their contracts. And so it'll tell you what they're looking for. And that's how you can go about applying for those things, even though they don't know who you are. But I always tell people, you want to make sure that you've done something that you can do again. So for me in corporate America, I've held big titles. So I've been exposed to everything just about. I've done mergers and acquisitions, all types of things, tax work, all types of things throughout my career. So when something comes up, I make sure that it's in my alignment of scope. And if it's not, then it's something I pass on. And if I see that skill set is needed time after time, then I go out there and I get that skill set, such as learning a new software when I learned Oracle. So now Oracle will send me emails and say, hey, can you help us on this, or NetSuite? So I always get certified with those companies as well so that they can call on you.
Okay, all right, cool, cool. I want to talk about diversification. Is it good to stick with one idea and master it and grow that business, or is it okay to have multiple streams of income and, kind of separate your time or delegate your time between all? Yeah, I always kind of see, which one is better. I always ask people that.
Okay. So my personal opinion is you want to master the one thing that you've done. So I can always use myself for example. So I've, really mastered this industry and continuing to take continuing education, continuing to ever revolve. I'm a part of the American Bar Association tax section. So that's where you get into more complex tax involvement. So this part I've really focused on and mastered, but then once I felt like that was very good for me and that I had it, then I moved over into the trucking industry. I had worked with that industry for a long time as clients, having clients when we were in public accounting. And then when I went on my own doing mergers and acquisitions and then software implementations. So I felt like I knew the majority of the back end, and then I started learning the operational side and then learning to drive the trucks. And so I can do drop hooks on the trailers and different things like that. So it's no touch freight. Amazon relay, those type of things. So that's what I tell people. You want to make sure that you really learn the industries.
Wow. So you drive the trucks or you own the trucks?
So I own the trucks, but I can also drive. Because one of my things is what happens if someone doesn't come? Well, on the weekends or in the afternoon, maybe I can do a run if it's Amazon and I can drop and hook it. Or, someone else always rides with me because I don't officially have my license yet. So I can still drop and hook the trailers and different things like that. So, yes. I always want to make sure that they're rolling because remember, there's a note due on them. So you want to try to generate the income and keep them going.
Wow, wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, trucking business is a pretty good business. You
Yes,
know,
it is.
that's a good business. Um, what is the hardest part about being an entrepreneur?
The hardest part is you're not held accountable in per se by someone else. And what that means is every day, just like I'm going to corporate America, I have a system. So I'm getting up some days at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to work out. Then I'm going to read periodicals. I'm going to start checking emails and then start working. Well, there's no one to say, hey, remember this report is due on this day or, those things. So you have to be your own person to stick to the schedules of what clients expect from you. And then you also have to be your own motivator. But I also have mentors and I also have accountability partner. But again, they can't make me get up out of my bed every day. That has to be a willpower from me. And one of the things is I remember when you're on a job, you're going to get a paycheck consistently where it's every week or every 2 weeks. When you work for yourself, you have to make your paycheck. So if I don't work and don't have any billable hours or anything, no checks.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, you have to be yourself motivator because
Yes, yes,
it's 24/7.
yes, absolutely.
My next question, I'm almost done. My next question is what was the aha moment or the turning point that you said, you know what, I want to do my own thing. I want to be an entrepreneur and lead corporate America.
Aha moment, unfortunately, was when I began to miss a lot of things in my children's lives, big events, things like that. And I decided that I wanted something different. I knew I wanted to do the taxes because I had always done them on the side. I had, volunteered at VITA, AARP. So I knew that was something that I would just start out. So that was my original goal when I was part-time. I was like, oh, I can go and do taxes full-time because I can have the clientele. But then as the business evolved and I was working on tax returns for business owners and nonprofits, I began to see something that was consistent. It was the financial records, they weren't together, just a lot of things. And so then I said, okay, we can do the accounting. I can start advising them, helping them to learn what it is that they need to do. And so, one of those things that I always do, um, I always seek out something where I can volunteer and give my time before I actually start, charging. So I started volunteering at SCORE. And so I did that. And then I said, okay, I see what to expect. And so, SCORE, we look at a lot of different things, the marketing, not just the finances. We look at a lot of things and help business owners. So I knew that I could gradually add that as some additional income. And then when I started consulting, well, I already was consulting with public accounting firms. So I decided to add that and follow some of their models.
Yeah, so you're saying corporate America prepared you to be an entrepreneur in a sense?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. I believe that if you can learn as much as you can in corporate America, no matter what you're doing, that will set you up for success. Now, if it's an industry that you've never done, one of the things I tell people is to make sure you research thoroughly. And if you have a mentor, make sure it's the right mentor.
Mm, okay, okay. Um, you have any advice for somebody who wants to start their own consulting biz in 2025?
Yeah, so my number one thing would be make sure of the field that you want to consult in. And then research, do your industry research in your area. And, that will help you to know what is out there, what can you charge. But then don't just look at what someone else is charging because I may have 18 to 20 years, but then this is your first year. So you want to kind of get you a baseline of what you can charge. So those are the things I would say. Make sure that if you're finding consulting gigs, that you check off all the boxes that you can do those things. Because if you can't and you get in there, then that can be the demise of your business. Because when you're doing consulting jobs, you want a good score because companies will score you. That will determine if they will ask you back. And then sometimes there may be another project, which has happened to me, and they'll say, hey, we have something else. Can we keep you on? And I say, sure, let's do another agreement. So those are the things that I would give people who are looking to have a consulting firm their first year.
Mm, okay, all right. Anything else you want to add? That's all I got for today. Anything else you want to add, and or where people can hit you up at?
Yeah, the last thing I would say is entrepreneurship is very rewarding if you start out right. So first you've got to have the foundation. So I would tell you as entrepreneurs to build the first foundation correctly, make sure that it's strong so that you can withstand. And that means having the right structure, making sure that you're doing your business finances right, and having the right people on your team. So that's what I would leave you with for today. And far as being able to contact me, people can reach out to me on my website, which is www.lbeconsulting.com. I'm also on social media, which is TikTok, the Tax CEO. And then I'm also on Instagram as the Tax CEO. And Facebook, it's LBE Consulting.
All right, perfect. You got it. All right. Thank you for another episode. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for Laura coming on today. And see you guys next time. All right.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.